What's up, manifestation queens? I've got Siobhéal in the studio. You know what? I knew I'd like Siobhéal because I asked her if she wanted coffee and she was like, coffee for life. And then the second thing she did was she parked 7 minutes away because she was afraid of her parking, which is what I would do. There's a parking space out, like a huge...
You could fit 3 of my cars in that parking space that's right outside the door. The one time.
I know, but you know when you're afraid of... And I drive a 7-seater.
Space and I just, do you?
Yeah.
Well then, yeah, you need to take
it's
the
a
space
bus,
when you find it. But yeah, I just couldn't believe that. I saw the space like 7 minutes away and I was like, I'm not going to risk it. I'm going to be really safe this time.
I know.
To try and be on time.
I'm the same. Anyway, Siobhéal is founder of Rosie and Dott.
Yeah.
The name. Where did the name come from?
Yeah, so loads of people always ask me that actually. It's a long story, but back in 2011, I would have been the Dublin Rose and the Rose of Tralee. And it was like the most amazing experience. And I'd been through, I only did a talk maybe about 2 weeks ago. It was my first time like doing a public talk and I had like 15 minutes on the stage. And this was the first thing I actually brought up about the name of the business. And I had myself so worked up, Yvonne, before this talk. Like I tried not to, but I had myself so worked up that I started speaking about this topic and then
that's okay. We love authentic people.
I love that too. I'm always the person that's like,
but why were you worked up? You're a total, you're a total outgoing personality.
I was so worked up. I think it was because it was a talk in front of other women in business. And I think for me, I just felt really, it was probably imposter syndrome, was very real. But I was standing up there kind of feeling like, you know, the way you're battling that voice is like, you don't not deserve, but you don't belong kind of in this space. You know, so I was battling that. But anyway, the Rosie and Dott story kind of brings up a lot for me because it's named after a friend of mine who passed. So I would have met Dorothy Hengler, whose Dott nickname was a Rose in 2011 with me. So she was the Washington DC Rose. And she was like just the most amazing person, like really outgoing, so funny. She was like all of us, really loved getting glam, dolled up, going for nights out, like just the best crack. And when you're in the Rose Tree itself, especially the year that I would have done it, like there's so many women that you don't really get a chance to get to know everyone really, really well. And it was only in the year, maybe or two after, that I started to get to know Dot really well because there's always reunions and there's big sessions after you're in the Rose Tree. But Dot got really sick in the end of 2013 and then passed away in 2014 from brain cancer.
God. What cancer?
Brain cancer. So a brain tumor. And I can't even describe what the whole experience was like and what it was like losing her and how it affected us all in all kinds of different ways. Do you know that I had never lost someone young. And just the circumstance of like her mom is from Kerry, her dad's American, like they're always back in Kerry every year. Like they're just so connected, deeply connected with their Irish roots. Family are so close and so invested in the Rose Tralee. Even to this day, her mom and dad actually own the Rose Hotel in Tralee now. They bought that like in honour of Dot and they've renamed the bar Dot's Bar in Tralee, like amazing. So when you go down Tralee, you'll see a lot of like little nods to Dot and stuff.
My parents live in Listowel.
Yeah. I will move to Kerry someday or I'm going to have the holiday home. I'm going to manifest that. I'm like, guys, it's on the vision board.
Ballybunion.
Oh, beautiful.
Oh, but that's like really beautiful. So Rosa Tralee, Dot, there's like such a meaning and purpose behind.
Yeah, exactly.
And I bet you need that on days where you're like questioning what the hell you're doing.
That's exactly what I actually always say this, like Rosie obviously is a nod to Rose Tralee and Dot is for her. And there's days where and there's so many days for me where I'm like, I actually don't know why I'm doing this. And then I nearly feel like, well, you've named it after Dot, so you'd want to make it work, girl. Like, you know, and it does help me in that sense. Definitely gives you.
It's the exact same with Paws Penny, my brand. So Polly, I had a baby that passed away during pregnancy. That was Paws. Well, you know, like I told you before, I have 4 kids now.
I know. You're like, oh my God, there's twins at the end as well.
She's blessing herself here, guys. She's blessing herself. And then Penelope was the little girl that came after. So she's a bit of hope. And I'm telling you, I have weeks where I'm like, just let me tell you this. It would be easier. People say, you don't want to be in corporate. You don't want to work for the man. Hello, I get paid by the man in corporate. That's a lot easier.
Yes.
And also, I'm 2 years in business now, November 22 when I launched. I launched a month before I had the twins. I don't know what I was thinking, but anyway, that's me. Guess what? The 21-day manifestation challenge is back and we have limited spots. If you want to be a vibe in 2025 and manifest your dream life, please book your spot. This is for anybody who wants to manifest something in particular, maybe is struggling to manifest what you want, or maybe you have been manifesting, but you're like, this is just not working for me. Join the manifestation movement and all the other manifestation queens and sign up at pausepenny.com.
Isn't it funny when you think back of things you've done and how you did it and you're like, how did I do that?
Yeah, or why?
Or why did I do that?
Yeah. Why did I launch the business a month before I was about to have twins?
Yeah.
I don't know, and 2 other kids at home.
Oh, wow.
But there are times where I'm just like, should I do this? And like, and I always just say to Polly, I'm like, send me a sign, please, that I'm supposed to keep going. And then the next day I'll get a message from somebody or I'll get something. Do you talk to her? Like, would you have her in your mind?
I need to be better. I actually think of my mom whenever I have these conversations because mom is so spiritual and she's always like, you know, when things are stressful, she's like, just hand it over. Like, hand it over to Dot, hand it over to whoever. And I'm like, I can't get to that point for whatever reason that I feel like, and I'd love that. I'd actually love that because I feel like that's in me. But I do often think of her and have her on my vision board and speak about her on social, like our community and stuff would be really familiar. Like people who are kind of the OG followers who have been following Rosie and Dott since really, like the business is around since 2017, but I went full-time 2020, like a month before lockdown.
Oh, wow.
So I really kind of count that as the start and the real starting point for Rosie and Dott. But so like the OGs would be really familiar with her story, you know, and even things like a lot of our branding, like you'll see lilac kind of a lot in our packaging or just on socials or on our website and things like that. I wear like lilac all the time, not wearing it today, but I would wear it a lot. And that's for her as well, because that was kind of her color. Like there's a whole story behind that. She would have been a big supporter, was it Baltimore Ravens? And they have like Purple Friday in the States and stuff. They're a big American football team. So yeah, so when Dot was sick, like we all our friends like all over the world, because Rose Tree just have friends everywhere then from that experience. And we all would have worn purple on whatever date that Purple Friday was and posting it online for her. Like that was a big thing at the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, so there's like lots of nods to her everywhere, like as much as I can anyway.
I tried out for the Rose Tree.
You would have been so fab.
I was like back in, I was like 21, the Kerry Rose. And I had to
that's a hard centre, I feel.
Oh,
yeah. Like, because there's always
yeah.
so many girls that go for it in Kerry and stuff.
Yeah, but I had no special talent. I don't know what I did. I don't know. I'm not sure what I did.
I don't know if my talent was
special. I didn't
special.
get far anyway. I didn't get far, and I look back and I embarrassed myself.
Oh no,
so
I
much.
think back on myself. Like I was 22 when I went for the Rose, and I'm from Clondalkin in Dublin. So, and this is the wrong kind of perception to have. But at the time, I was like, "There's not a hope I'm going to be selected because I'm from Clondalkin." Like you just don't see. In my head, I was like,
Yeah.
You just. And I watched it for years. I was like, you just don't meet roses from Clondalkin, you know. And a lot of the girls who were involved in Dublin that year were like, you know, from Malahide and Dunleary and Foxrock and like beautiful places, you know. And I remember there was one get together we all had, and some of the girls pulled up in like Mini Coopers and stuff. Now I was in college, like so beyond broke, I can't even tell you, right? And I drove a white Nissan Micra, and I had the window, you know, the masking tape, the brown masking tape. I had the window hanging up with that.
I drove a red Nissan Micra.
Yeah. I had my little white one, and I literally remember sitting in the car park going, what am I doing? Like, what am I doing here? So I think because of that, I just never thought I was ever going to get it. So because of that mentality, I was so relaxed throughout it.
So relaxed. Yeah.
And looking back, I'm like, that's obviously what helped me. I think, yeah.
But what were you doing in 2017 then before you actually launched Rosie?
God.
Well, you started Rosie and Dott. You were working, were you?
Yeah, working. So after the Rose Tree, I would have studied media and Irish in college. So the idea was I wanted to work for TG Carr. Like that was the dream. Did the Rose Tree, worked in media for a while, like would have been like a freelance reporter, so to speak. So I would have worked with the Tubridy show at the time, had this deadly little gig where it was a show on TG Carr called Score Encore. It was like a talent show. And I was one of the judges on that before as well. Like deadly little jobs.
So where does all the Irish connection, Siobhéal, the name, that's clearly
and
Irish.
There's Niamh Donal, Aoife Fiacre in my family.
How many
5 siblings, 5 kids. And it's 4 siblings. I have 4 siblings. But none of them speak Irish. But Mum and Dad moved to Clondalkin just before I was born. And there's a really strong like Irish community, believe it or not, in Clondalkin. So there's a great Gael school that I would have went to, Closh Killian. And there's a great like place called Áras Cronan where they speak like just, you know, they'd be like Irish language classes, and they have like just amazing events and stuff. So there's a lot of Gael girls in Clondalkin.
I have a funny story about Irish. So because I grew up in LA and I came back to Ireland when I was 13, and then I didn't have to do Irish because I was exempt, so which was fine for me. I'd be starting from nothing, right?
Yes,
Well, I'd
of
probably have to do
course.
foundation or whatever
Yeah.
Irish that was, which would have been fine, but I didn't do it. But when you become a lawyer, or before you become a lawyer, you have to do an Irish exam. So I was like,
Oh
well,
my
I
God,
don't
so
have
you'd
any-
never done it in secondary school
no.
then?
So anyway, I learned off all these passages, and then you had to have an oral Irish exam. So they asked me
Yvonne,
in the
you're
exam, they were like, I could tell by their hand movements, the questions, they knew I wasn't like fully with it, like, because, and they were like, how old were you when you moved from California to Ireland? And I counted to 10 in Irish, like Hain, Do, Tree, Carrickwick. And then I looked at them. So I counted to 10. I looked at them and I said 13, because I didn't know and anyway, they were like, what do you like? What do you like to do for fun? And I was like, is small Joel August crack. And they were like, K Kjol, like
10
what
out of
Kjol?
10.
Yeah. And I was like, Britney Spears, August Justin. It was like,
stop.
but anyway, I passed.
If you can do that, you can do anything though. Because that's like, I feel like the oral exams are such high pressure situation, you know?
Oh, no. They knew they were dealing with there. They were like, listen, if she got far enough to do law, surely she
can do this.
like, so
Isn't that
yeah.
gas?
So you were doing the kind of journalism, media and all that. And then
Yeah.
and so what brought you into starting the company?
Yeah, this is wild. So my dad would have had his own business for 40 years and he did like shop fittings. You know, if there was like a new deli or there was like a new estate agents opening up, his business would have looked after like decking that out basically. Grew up watching him with his own business and thought I will never do that. I had no ambition to ever run my own business ever. Tried the media thing, didn't work out. Tried teaching for a while, was like, love the kids, can't discipline a child, so this is not for me. Tried studying to be a counsellor, tried that, and this is all my 20s. Tried, what else was there? Oh, there was loads. Like I worked as a receptionist, loved that, but like just wasn't for me long term. And
I
then
love that you tried so many things.
Yeah.
I think your 20s is for trying. And I was quite different. I knew I wanted to be a lawyer from the age of like 5. I was like, I'm going to be a lawyer. My aunt, it's funny, my aunt used to say to me, someday, Yvonne, you're going to be a lawyer or a doctor. And I think she actually just got into my subconscious mind.
brain.
But then the O.J. Simpson trial was on when I was in California at 12. So I used to just watch it. But I want people to know that are listening in, like, doesn't matter what age, like try different things.
Yeah.
And if you
I
don't,
wish I'd said that to myself when I was younger as well, that it's okay to do that. Because I felt, will I use the word shame? Yeah, I guess I did. I felt a bit of shame with regards to not knowing exactly what I wanted to do. And then often finding, oh no, I really like this job, but it just didn't fill whatever that was for me.
there was something more for you.
Yeah. And I always felt like there was, but it definitely meant that I was very frustrated at times in my 20s because I felt like I had a lot of ambition and a lot of drive, but I was like, I'm not putting this into the right thing. Or
you just needed to figure out what that was for you. And how did you figure it out?
Yeah.
I think this is a question for a lot of people. They're like, but I don't know what I want to do.
Oh my God, my whole 20s were like, I don't know what I want to do. And then the more I tried things and they weren't my thing, the more maybe fearful I got of trying another new thing. I was like, oh God, can I really get excited about this new avenue that I'm going in? But what happened was, in the meantime, my sister Aoife and her husband Gav had started a new business, and they'd started this business with a couple as well. So 2 couples had started, and it was called the Irish Fairy Door Company.
Yeah.
So they did the little fairy doors for kids. And Aoife is like from another planet, we always say, because she is the most creative woman. Like she could make magic out of anything. And I just remember she has 3 children now. Her eldest is like 20 nearly. But she just always made everything so magical for the kids growing up. And she got that. Like our mom is very creative as well. Like, you know, we'll just make something out of nothing. But the fairy door story, I think a lot of people will be familiar with because they would have been on the toy show and they had I remember we got a mention from like Kourtney Kardashian at the time on Snapchat. Like it grew very quickly for them. But they needed someone to look after their customer care and social media. And I was working as a receptionist at the time. And I thought, God, I've never worked with family, but like it was such a creative business and it was really like go, go, go dynamic. And there was a great little team forming within the business. And I was like, well, I've worked in a receptionist, so I know what customer care is. Like I like people and I like looking after people. I mean, social media, I'm always on it. It was only really Facebook. Like Facebook was big for them at the time. So I came on board with the Fairy Door Company and that would have been like 2015, I think. And learned I could do our whole chat just on that, but I learned so much seeing their experience of what to do, what not to do, the kind of things that can happen. A lot changed within the business over time. And then I met my husband Brian at this stage, so we met through the Rose Tree, but he would have been an escort the year after me. but an escort in my year in 2011 set us up. So Connor was like, I have a guy you'd really like. I was like, Scarlett, get away from me. Don't want to meet anyone. I'm mortified. I can find my own fella. Thanks. But anyway, Brian and I ended up meeting. Like, I just was mad about him like from the second I met him. But so like what happened was we were together a few years at this point when I started with Fairy Door. And like I knew like we're going to have to start saving for a house, and I wasn't earning a lot at the time. And I have the creative gene, I guess, as well. So I had started a tiny little business on the side remember a while ago, like button frames were a big thing, you know, like button art, you know, you had like a frame and then I have
one for my little girl, Penelope.
Yeah, they're so cute. Like I started doing them, and I just had a Facebook page that was called the Graw Gifts, and I used to like do calligraphy and stuff on mugs for weddings and things like that. And thankfully, Yvonne, like it took off. It was really busy. So I was up to like 2 a.m. most mornings, like doing this. While I was working Fairy Door full time. And Fairy Door was very all consuming because I looked after social media and customer care. So there was no real clock off, you know, like it was my sister's business, but it became like mine too. Like I understood what it meant to get fully invested in a journey and in the story and the ambition of a business. But I couldn't keep it up. Like it was great to be so busy, but I was like very invested in Fairy Door at the time. And it was so hard, like packing these frames and these mugs, and they were so fragile. It was so bulky. I was like, do you know
going to the post office.
Yeah.
That's what I was doing that. I was going to and you know what? I kind of do look back and I like enjoy.
I know.
I used to like
simplicity in it. Like it wasn't simple, but it felt it.
Yeah, even though it wouldn't have been loads, but like whenever somebody bought from Paws Penny, I would pack it up. I'd go to the post office and I'd literally do a dance, like dropping up, like sending good vibes to you, Helena, that you've just bought my manifestation.
Helena in Longford, thank you very much.
Yeah. Like, and even I put up a LinkedIn post recently. So October 2023, I was on maternity leave, and I got an order from a lady who bought a load of gratitude boxes for her team, but her company was in the city center, a big pharma company. So I took a buggy, like one of the kids' buggies, packed all the products on it, walked down, delivered it. And on the way back, I was outside walking back past LinkedIn, and I took a picture of myself, and the picture was in my phone, and I used to look at it every now and again. And I said to myself, someday I'm going to be on LinkedIn. 1 year, almost like exactly, they contacted me and were like, can we get some boxes? And I'm going back in there to give a good talk.
Door.
Yeah, I know.
Isn't that wild?
Manifestation. But anyway, you're in the Fairy Door.
It's amazing.
It's crazy. But you're manic. Also trying to pack up mugs that can break. People ask them where their order is. Gets close to Christmas, and on post are like, yeah, it's a busy time. You don't get my order for 2 weeks. I'm sorry about that.
Or a mug arrives and it's chipped, and you're like, oh my God, that only took me like, I don't know how long to make that, but anyway, that's fine. But it was all, so eventually, like after a while, I was like, do you know what? It just, obviously I wasn't just fully invested. I knew it wasn't going to be like something that I would do full time anyway. So yeah, I just continued on the Fairy Door journey. And then a lot changed in the business because a silent investor came on board, and there was like a big shift within. Now this was months in the making, but it became very stressful because dynamic completely changed. And this is coming into then, God, that would have been like towards the end of 2019. So Brian and I were engaged at this point. We had just moved into our house. So that was great. Sorry, I'm actually going ahead of myself. Like the Graw Gifts had finished, but after a few months again, I kind of felt like I still had more in me to give, you know, and I was picking up bits of information all the time through how like Fairy Door would have worked. And I guess it was always that voice nagging away at me, like, there's more I can do. I just have more in me. Things, you know, obviously we'd lost Dott in that time. Like there was a lot going on. And it was actually a colleague of mine that I worked with in Fairy Door at the time was like, why don't you just start selling something that you can just pick and pack? Like, you know, like if you still have something in you, you feel like that there's something there. Yeah. Why don't you just like, it's just a matter of taking it from a shelf, putting it in an envelope and shipping it. And I was like, God, that's a great idea. And he was like, you know, like you're really into the glam life. Like you love dressing up, you love jewelry. Like, and I do, that's always been who I am. And anyway, like I'm going to make this sound so simplistic because it wasn't, but I did end up finding a manufacturer, and this was just Google. This was like going through Google, finding one.
The power of Google.
You have to sit there.
The amount of people that have sat and talked about their business. And I'm like, how did you start? And you know what they say? Google.
Just time and dedication, and like a lot of patience, and learn, like it's like everything in business, like you learn the hard way. So I had a bit of savings, Brian had a bit of savings, my parents had a bit of savings, and I think we came to about €1,000 or something, and we all came together. And I had found this man, I loved the contact from this particular manufacturer, and I was like, great, okay, contact is great, ordered a few samples from them. Samples came, picked 3 necklaces and 3 pairs of earrings that I liked, ordered like 25 of each or something like that. And then a few weeks later they arrived. So Brian actually came up with the name Rosie and Dott. So that wasn't even me. Can't even take credit for that. But the stock arrived, started a Facebook page, just announced to, family and friends, like, this is my new gig. I'm just trying to see how this is going to go. And the thing with Rosie and Dott from the very start, Yvonne, like, it's always been really, thankfully, busy. So from the get-go, it just took off. Now, at the time, there was no one really online who was doing like really good, high quality jewelry for an affordable price for like nicer, more fancy events. Like, that wasn't there. Now there's more competition now, but at the time that just didn't exist, and I knew that there was a gap.
So you literally started your business with €1,000.
Yeah, literally €1,000. Yeah. €1,000.
Like, that's just insane.
I know. We built our website on Squarespace.
And you built it yourself?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I know. When I say that now, it's wild. Squarespace, yeah. Now, we like killed each other doing it. It wasn't like we sat down and we're like, let's create together. No, it was like, it was hard. And I don't even know what Squarespace or those kind of websites are like now. I'm sure it's even more user friendly. But at the time, it was hard.
And your branding, though, is really gorgeous. Like the grey colours. And where did you do?
Again, that's a connection through the Rose Tree. So my friend Darren McGrath would have been an escort in my year in 2011. And he has been our designer ever since. So he's a designer. He just would do, bits freelance, just help me out really. Yeah. And he created the logo. And that's everything really that we do. Now, packaging and branding is him.
So did you kind of so you started in 2017, Rosie and Dott, €1,000, 25 pieces, of different things, put it out there, and they just sold.
It just sold, yeah. And I had learned so much through the Fairy Door about what worked in terms of social media. So what the Fairy Door was so good at was sharing their personal story, like amazing. And really amazing for getting across the message of how it started at a kitchen table and how, the 2 couples, really young couple with young kids. And, their story was so relatable and recession.
And are they still there?
No. So this is where I'm going now with this because this is wild. So in the end of 2019, then things had really changed. Silent Investor came on. There was things breaking down within the business. Like, it was just, there was a lot going on and I wouldn't even get into it.
Investment, and it's somebody else's story. They might be like, but yes. But the thing about investment as well is what people need to remember is you don't get nothing for free. There's nothing for free, right? Yeah. So you might see people on the likes of the Dragon's Den or, all these big shows where they get investment or they get investment. But the thing is they've got a say in your business and they can direct the strategy. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the time, now, so the flip side is they give you money so you can expand and grow. But if your strategy is not aligned, and typically the founders know where the business should be going because their heart and it's their baby.
Yeah.
So when you get into bed, so I say with an investor, you gotta choose wisely.
Yeah, it's frightening.
You gotta choose wisely.
To be honest, I guess the company when I was working there was just so magical, and I think, things were starting to happen in the States for them. And it was just like, if I could even go back, like transport you back in time for you to see what the vibe was like in the office even then and how creative we were.
How big was it? How many people were in the office?
There was like at one stage, maybe 10 or.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
huge.
Huge. Yeah. For like
and
a family
very
starting.
Passionate. Everyone very passionate about what we did.
But you see the doors and everything. You would have seen them everywhere. And
they did a thing called the worry plaque, which children would put their hand on. And this was like to take away their worries. So the fairies would have taken away their worries. And that was huge at the time. Huge. Because it was like a need for it. Because children,
but there's more of a need for it now.
I know.
So what happened?
So anyway, things were changing. And then at the very start, towards the end of 2018. So we'd moved into our house at this stage. We're about 6 months in the house. And we're getting married in July of 2019. But in January of 2019, I was the first person called into the office. My sister and her husband had been let go from the business at this stage. So I was called into the office. I was the first and made redundant there and then. And then my other sister, Neve, who was working there, she would have looked after accounts, was called in right after me, made redundant. My dad was like he was retired at this stage, was helping out in Fairy Door though, just because my dad will never not work.
Yeah.
Made redundant. Another designer made it. Like, it was just a lot of people made redundant in one day.
Oh, that's
it
hard.
Was like, do you know what? I used to hear stories about people being made redundant before that. Like, you think you relate, you do think, oh God, that's awful. But it wasn't until I went through it that I recognized like how much of my identity was wrapped up in what I did for a living. Like that, like everything to do with who I was as a person was because of the career I had, which is not right either, because obviously we're so much more than what we do. But it was devastating. And
But it's different though, because I was made redundant as well. And I have to say, it's funny because, you know, I had 3 miscarriages before I had my son, right?
yeah.
And then I had my son, and all I wanted was this baby. And I was in my dream job. And then things didn't go well in the company at a particular time. So they had to make everybody redundant. So I was pregnant, but I was losing my job. But all I wanted was the baby. But then when I had the baby, I was like, I need to find another job. You know, you do get attached to the job and that, and also, you know, the finances of it and all of that. But also this is slightly different for you because this is a family business.
Yeah.
Like this is like a baby, you know,
literally. Yeah. And the thing about your family, I guess, you know, when you go through things like that, you lean on them for support, obviously, you know, if you're going through it. But we were all like grieving at the same time. Like we often,
the business.
Yeah, like we often think back on it now and we nearly laugh, even though it's not funny at all, but I think it's maybe our coping mechanism. But we would like kind of go, God, do you remember that? And what we were all like at that time? Like, you know, just so frazzled and each trying to help each other. But you're trying to help your sister or you're trying to help, you know, your brother-in-law, but like you're equally as devastated. So you're trying to help them through that. And it was
like
very
the
hard
grief of a business. You'd had the grief of the friend, the grief of a business.
It's, yeah. And like, I think now, definitely I'm through it, but I can see my sister and her husband, because they've moved on and they have a new business now and they're still in the toy, like, you know, design business, which is amazing. And I see them kind of coming out of it, Aoife and Gav, and I'm like,
yeah.
You know,
what's their toy business?
It's called Innovate Creative Academy. So they do like most of their business now in the States. So they do, you know, like Squishmallow. Is that what the kids are mad for? Yeah. Like the stuff that they're doing at the moment is really like that. So they have a product called Teddy Bears. They're just like, oh my God, I tell people to Google it. They're in Walmart and places like that. So they're like, yeah, they're amazing. They're doing amazing.
I'll have your whole family
like
on
bought
this
a new
podcast.
house. They bought their house. Yeah, you would. Oh my God, you'd love my sister Aoife. Like, oh my God, she's amazing. And you can learn so much from her. Like I've learned so much from her. But
back to you and Rosie and Dott.
So sorry. So that happened. And then we were planning the wedding, obviously, because the wedding was 6 months away. And Rosie and Dott was taking over. Now, at this point, I wasn't actively posting every day. Nothing like that. I was maybe posting once a week. And still the orders were always ticking by. And we'd regularly run out of stock. And I was just never even comprehended doing it full time. Can I just say, I kind of panicked for a few months after Very Dark because I didn't have a clue what to do then. I really didn't have a clue. And then our wedding was coming around and I was like, right, I have 4 bridesmaids, you know, and the 4 bridesmaids I had were 4 women from the Rose Tralee that I met through the Rose Tralee. So like my Donegal Rose, my Leitrim Rose, Kilkenny and Queensland, like they were my 4 girls. But I was like, it's an Irish wedding. So the bride pays for, you know, the dresses, the shoes, the earrings, the bag. Like I remember thinking, Jesus, the price of all this, like, you know, so broke, like obviously with the redundancy and everything. And the only place you could get really gorgeous jewellery are clutch bags. I actually got my own clutch bag for my wedding on adverts because I couldn't find like a pearl clutch. I was like, I just want a really pretty pearl clutch bag. I had to buy it off another bride. Couldn't find it. And the place to go really for really nice jewellery was either a jeweller's or like River Island. Do you know, like there was no like place you could order something where it'd arrive and be really pretty packaged where you'd feel special, where you'd gift it and it would feel like really nice to gift. So that's when Rosie and Dott took a little turn because I started looking at styles that were more geared towards weddings because I needed it. So I looked at headpieces and, you know, like nice things when you had an up style in your hair. So our wedding rolled around and that was my first time. So I wore Rosie and Dott in my ears. I had a clutch bag from that other lady. So we weren't doing clutch bags at that time, but my 4 girls had 4 headpieces from Rosie and Dott and I had laid everything out like on a table like you have here for them. So like 4 pairs of earrings, 4 bracelets. And I remember kind of thinking to myself, this is my first time seeing like a bridal party where Rosie and Dott, which was like, yeah, this is fab. And they looked amazing. And then when Brian was making a speech at the wedding, a big part of his speech, and I think he knew because my confidence was like so low at this time and I felt lost. Like I did feel lost. But I remember him at the speech, part of it was like, you know, Siobhéal has Rosie and Dott. Obviously the girls look, I can't even remember exactly what he said. But he was like, I remember him talking about the bridesmaids, how gorgeous they looked. And he was like, she's going to make it work. She's going to do it. She's going to make it like to all our family and friends. I'll try not get emotional even thinking about that. But like I remember sitting there being like, will you just please sit down? I'm so scared. Would you think it like this? But I think it was the belief. And I think looking around and seeing other people, I thought to myself, oh God, like everyone here really believes that I could do it. And that was like lovely. He was the best support. So I was like, God, this is a really nice feeling. So I kind of joke that our wedding was like the unofficial launch. Like it was the launch day of Rosie and Dott, because I think I walked away from that really, we had an amazing photographer, Peter Carville. He still does a lot of photography for Rosie and Dott, but he was our wedding photographer. So when I saw his pictures come in, Jesus, there's something here, you know. So I started really actively honing in on the wedding side of the business, really. And it was, when was it? I think it was January 2020 when I officially went full time. I kind of did little jobs in between the redundancy and then. But January 2020, I was like, I'm going full time, which scared the living daylights out of me at the time. And I remember my sister Eva from Ferrydor saying, Siobhéal, if your business is ticking over now and you're making sales without trying, really, she's like, can you imagine what your business would be like if it was everything to you, if you gave it everything you had? And I was 29 at the time, I was like 30 at the time. And it was great advice, because I kind of thought, well, I have the evidence here that it works. So I can't let the fear, like my dad's business closed during the recession, and it was like, that was devastating. So I saw what that did to him, and
the ferry door.
And the ferry door happened then. So I feel like I've done a lot of work, and I'm still doing it, on really not letting the fear run my business for me. And that's been probably my biggest challenge. And that was my biggest challenge, even deciding to go full time, was I can't think that this is going to end badly and that it's going to have a horrible ending. Because I often battle with that, Yvonne. That's not something like I'm over at all. I think it kind of follows me a bit.
Yeah. And I totally understand that, right? Because like in a totally different context, you know, when I had, say, miscarriage after miscarriage, now this is totally different business, but it is that feeling of knock after knock after knock after knock. So like for you, you know, you had your grief of your friend Dot, then you had your sister's business, the ferry door, you had your dad's business, like, so business is getting knocked, it's getting knocked, it's getting knocked. So you have that belief, you can have that belief in your head, like that of like, God, is this going to happen to me? Yeah. But what you have to tell yourself is, this is a new business. It can just be, as, you know, I can make this work. You know? 100%. And I think, you know, in years to come, please God, I'm still doing the same thing. I'll be looking back at myself at that time and be like, oh my God, I'm so proud of you.
Yeah. Like, you have this. It is, just take it day by day.
I really, really believe this, and you'll be like, "This one's totally mental."
No,
but anyway, you're going to do our manifestation challenge.
I'm going to eat it up.
You're going to do my manifestation challenge, and I'm telling you, you are going to love it.
I know I will, because
you're
I
absolutely
truly believe
going to love it. So you can only choose one thing you're manifesting. So like, this needs to be like a sales number or something for the business, and you could also do it with your sister. So there's two people aligned.
Love that.
But affirmations are so good. I think, like, I really started my affirmations journey in 2023. And like, my favorite affirmations are, the best is yet to come.
Oh,
everything always works out for me. Do you know what I mean?
Get it tattooed. Yeah.
No.
Like,
no.
Really,
I got a tattoo
seriously.
of a star when I was 21 on my foot, and there are no more blood. Yeah.
No, but I love those phrases, because I think it helps you be excited for your life, which is
sometimes
so good.
Sometimes you have to convince yourself. So you've got to do that work to convince yourself, no, this is going to happen for me. It is. I can see it. Like you talked about vision boards before. Now, I don't like vision boards. I like to write it down and that. But if you have a vision in your mind of what it looks like do you practice manifestation, or like, what does it mean to you, like manifestation?
Manifestation. I often think about this, and I used to do manifestation without realizing what it actually was. Yeah. And it's something that I really need to get into. And I was actually thinking about it before I came to see you today, because I was like, right, manifestation. I used to do it all the time to music, like love music, but I used to do a lot of running, and I used to like have the music like Beyonce blaring in my headphones. And I used to just imagine like not a real circumstance, or like, you know, not being in a certain job or not looking a certain way or anything like that. But I used to really visualize feeling powerful. It was a feeling. Now, I didn't know what capacity that meant, but like, I'd be powerful, I'd be confident, because before the Rose Tree happened, and the reason I went for the Rose Tree in the first place was because I had gone through a really bad patch of bullying. So like, it was like horrific. It was horrific. And
Was that in school?
it was like people just in the village where I was from. So it wasn't people that I went to school with, but it was just through a group of friends. And in my late teens, which is kind of like more of an unusual time maybe to go through something like that, but I had never gone through something like that before in my life. And I had definitely experienced like what, seeing things online about yourself and, like things like that. And knew at the time, like, I have to make new friends. Like, if I don't make new friends and if I don't find my people, like, I think I'm going to, like, the essence of me will disappear. Like, I knew that at the time. And that's why I went for the Rose Tree, because everyone who did the Rose Tree, when I watched it year after year, were like, the friends I've made, the friends I've made, the friends I've made. So, and in fairness to Aoife, again, Aoife in 2010, so the year before I went for it, she was ironing in her kitchen and I was in her kitchen with her. And she was like, would you not just do that? Because we were both watching it on the telly. She's like, would you not just do that? And this was kind of during that time when I was going through all that. And I was like, yeah, no, I don't think so. But obviously it was stayed in my mind, like the subconscious, obviously, and filled out the form then the following year. But the visualization and the manifesting that I did at that time, I think the Rose Tree was 100% because of that. But I didn't realize what I was doing.
Yeah, because step 5 in the Pause Penny manifestation box is feel. So how do you want to feel, right? And a lot of people will kind of message me and be like, you know what, I really don't know what I want to do. I don't know what I want to do. Should I join the manifestation challenge? I'm like, no. Should I buy the manifestation box? No, you're not ready until you know what you want and you're clear on what your goal is. Park your manifestation box. But I want you to write down how you want to feel. And that's always my advice. So you want to feel financially independence, joy, peace, motivated, happy. Yes. Just be happy.
Yeah, I love that.
And start maybe with a gratitude practice. Simple gratitude practice.
I love
but
that.
I do get a lot of women as well, like saying they want to manifest friends.
Yeah. Oh God, friendship for me was a big thing. Like I just needed people who, like, I'm very loyal. Like I know that as a person, like, and my friends, I'd like take the bullet for them, like 100%. But I needed more friends like that.
How did you move yourself away from the people that maybe you thought were your friends, bullies?
So
and
hard.
how did you how did you accept, like, these people are not nice to me? I'm not going to be, because were you with that friend group?
Yeah, so hard. There was connection. I had my good friends were connected to that group. I saw something online recently that people were like, you don't hear this enough about people talking about the breakup of a friendship or friendships and how hard that is. But you know what? I had to do it. And the Rose Tree was like the reason that I could do it, because it was so far removed from anyone at home, from anyone, like it was completely, like everyone that I met really through it, majority, 90% of people were from outside Dublin. So I made a whole new group of friends. And at the time, I just thought to myself, I have to give this everything. I have to give these friendships everything and go to the meetups, even though like I'm socially awkward and my confidence was so low at the time. But I was like, I have to go out and make time for these people and really like work on these new friendships, because I can't be around the people that I'm around anymore. I just can't.
And that's the thing. Like I say, step 6 is what action are you going to take? And you have to put yourself out there.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Even though you're like,
terrified.
Terrified.
Yeah. I remember sitting in my car, like even for the Dublin Rose at the time, there used to be like a quarterfinal, semi-final, final. But between those heats in Dublin, there was like meetups, like social meetups where all the girls meet. And I remember sitting in the white Nissan Micra, and it was like Dawson Street or something, and sitting outside wherever it was in Dawson Street. And I was sitting in the car and being like, I have to go into this like pub and I don't know anyone there. And like, I have to introduce myself. This is so awful. This is so awful. I was like, I am Siobhéal. I just thought it was the worst. I just couldn't think of anything worse. I'd never been in that situation where I had to do that. But I had to do it. Like I had to do it. And I was there 10 minutes and I remember feeling like, this is the best thing I've ever done. Because, and I felt like it was a start in a fresh slate, because these people knew nothing about me. I didn't have to, explain the bullying. I didn't have to worry, did they know those people? And do they think I'm a really awful person because of what they've heard about me? Like just awful stuff. And these were thoughts I would have always had. But like all that stuff, I guess, between the bullying and the businesses and what happened with the businesses and Dott. When I'm speaking to you now, Yvonne, and I speak about it all, I go, no wonder, like, I've been on a journey, and that's something I talk about regularly on Rosie and Dott, is the therapy. I'm very open about like therapy that I'd have nearly every week.
So you go to see someone and talk about,
I'm a big therapy person. So, because I needed to work myself I needed to work my way through all that and visit it again. And I was like, because I was acutely aware that thankfully Rosie and Dott's very successful and we've had the most amazing journey since I've been full time. It's been incredible. But I knew that if I didn't deal with like some demons that like I would self-sabotage. Like I knew that. I know that this is the best opportunity that I've ever had. But unless I...
And you've created it.
Yeah. Unless I own it and I'm not afraid of other people taking it away from me, I have to work on that all the time.
And we can self-sabotage all the time. I'm not going in. You, even when I contacted you for the podcast, you're like, me? Are you?
I know. I was like,
do you have the right person? I have the right person. Will you come, please?
I know. I couldn't believe it. I can't believe I'm doing a podcast even with you now in this setting. It's so professional. I'm like, oh my God.
I couldn't bring you to my house. It's
wild.
total another chaos.
I would have loved your house. I love chaos. But
you're gonna get more and more. It's just gonna get more and more.
Jeannie, well, please God, like I've been fearful of putting myself out there, and that's why I think the online business kind of really suited me for a while, because you can, even though we're an online business, so I do a lot on Instagram and we're trying the TikTok thing, but I obviously have control over that. But I need to be able to put myself out there and not be afraid of people's
I think
judgment.
And this is and judgment, but letting go of people's judgment, because it's really, you found your tribe, you found your people, they're the ones that and everybody else see ya, goodbye, right. Next, right?
Yeah.
But you're also a great person and a founder to put yourself out there, because you're like normal. You have these normal, these stories that everybody goes through. You also have these, fears and therapy, and that's what we need to hear more about, as opposed to I've just created this massive business and I'm this, that, and the other. So your story is amazing, and it's going to help. I think it's going to help a lot of people as well. Like, what would you say to people that in this day and age, there's way more social media, right? There's way more, like I got trolled by a guy. It's always guys.
Why is it always the guy?
It's always guys manifesting, roll your eye. And he told me I was selling the like I'm doing the manifestation course, right? So I call it's a manifestment, right? It's an investment in yourself, folks, right?
Yeah.
And it's so anyway, he was like, he sent me like this really long message, like he's Irish as well. It's like you're selling snake oil, and I was like, what? I had to Google that. I was like, what does selling mean? It basically means you're selling something that's just total load of rubbish, and you're conning people, right?
I really feel bad for that person. I have to be honest with you. When I hear things like that, I'm like, please just go out and find your happiness.
Yeah.
Just go.
And I can help you.
And I was going to say, and you have come to the right place.
I said to him in a message, I was like, we still have spots on the challenge if you want to join.
I was just going to say, did you offer him a spot?
Yeah. And, but you know what? He's not ready for it. And I think sometimes people need to be ready for it. They're just not there yet on their journey, but something happens in their life, something that's like a little rocket ship in their life, and they're like, oh wow, there's more to life.
Yeah. And timing is everything. I feel like that with me, even with Rosie and Dott, like I wasn't ready to go full time in 2017. Like there's just, and I'm actually quite good at that. I've gotten good through mistakes I've made where I'm ready. I'm really aware of that ready feeling, like that gut feeling, even when it's working with someone within the business, if someone's helping us, with anything that we're doing, like new manufacturers, or if we're just, if we're looking for someone to help with design or content, whatever it is, I'm like, they have to feel right for me. There has to be a right fit. And if it's not, I know straight away the gut. I'll walk away from the meeting and I'll just be like, unless I'm energized by it, I'm like, So the timing is everything.
One of my favorite affirmations is, I trust the timing of my life.
I love that one.
Yeah.
I do. And I really do.
Yeah. And
So.
I've even I have a podcast episode coming out on letting go. Like a lot of people say to me, but like, what do you mean letting go? Like I said, letting go is not giving up. It's taking the action, but knowing that you trust the timing, but you're still taking the steps to get there, and remembering this will work out the way it's supposed to.
Yeah, that the universe has your back, essentially. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
100%.
What has been your biggest biggest business mistake
in
Rosie and Dott?
God. Oh my God. Where do we start? Where do we start? So many mistakes, like just so many. 2023 was like a really hard year. Oh my God.
But actually, taking a step back, there's two things I want to cover here. First, you launched in January 2020. Like, was COVID not February
COVID
2020? March 2020?
Which,
like,
when I
is
think
it for
back,
weddings? All weddings shut down.
I know. I don't know why I laugh. That's a nervous laugh. Like, oh my God, the trauma.
But Kylie Donahue from FemFuels did the same, but actually worked
But it
well for her
worked
business.
well for us. It was amazing in terms of being an online brand because everyone was really rooting for the Irish business. So everyone in Ireland really wanted to support the Irish businesses, which was so amazing for getting brand awareness out there. More people were on their phones, obviously, so you could get like your message out there, and like people, we got so many followers that space of time. Like we've never gotten so many followers as
Because
we did
they're
then.
on their phones.
They're on their phones the whole time. And I can't really remember. Maybe it's trauma. I've packed it away somewhere, but I don't remember ever panicking like this. I think it was only for a while, there was like issues getting stock obviously on time, and that was hard. But in terms of people wanting to support us and support the brand, and I was in my box room at the time, like, so this, and I documented all this on Instagram. So I was like, this is the office. Here's my new office chair. Like I was very invested in like getting a new desk and documented all this. And then mom and dad, like obviously both retired, but lockdown was like, hello, what do we do? And we want to help. So they transformed my old bedroom at home into our dispatch room. I only put a video, actually a reel up the other day on our Instagram. Yeah.
You had like you had a rise and lowering
desk.
The
electric standing desk. And mom was like, whoa. She was delighted with this desk. So they would have shipped all our stock from their
you're
house.
packing and shipping all this. Are you still doing that yourself?
Still doing all that in-house. Yeah. So we do it all. Yeah, we do it all. We don't outsource that at all, actually. Probably that's a bit of me being a bit controlling. I just love like making sure our packaging is done. I like it to be done.
Yeah, I mean, it's like for me, I have a fulfillment center in Galway, and the reality is I probably don't make a huge enough amount of sales to have a fulfillment center. Like I know there's companies
so busy as it is,
but personally, I felt like, so what had happened was I was on maternity leave until December of 2023.
Yeah.
And I had written down that I wanted a sponsor for my podcast, and I had seen, and I wanted to get a fulfillment company. So I basically was talking to this fulfillment company. Long story short, about could they fulfill my products? Because one of my podcast guests was coming on the podcast, had her stock in there. So I called them and I was like, I just wondering if you could fulfill my products. And they're like, okay, what sort of sales are you making every week? And I told them, they're like, no. Like you'd lose money with us.
Okay.
Like you are not making enough sales for this,
right?
For a fulfillment center, because we pick and pack and everything we touch is a cost to you, right?
Yes, I only learned this a while back. Yeah.
So I was like, okay, fair enough. And then I was like, have you ever thought of sponsoring a podcast? Because I had written down podcast sponsorship. So they sponsored the podcast. But then this is what happened that made me think the brand is going to explode, right?
God, I love
they
you.
contacted me.
I love how you speak. I'm like,
believe me, I'm having a shit flat week this week.
I'm like lapping this shit up. And I'm like, yes, you can. You're going to make this work. Yes.
Yeah. But sometimes I have to write stuff for myself. Like I have to tell myself. But they contacted me then and were like, you know how you said you needed a fulfillment center? We love you. We love your vibe. We're going to take you in. And they took me in from when I went back to work in January of 2024. And I've been in for the year, right? But that's that's where there's a little bit of pressure on me that I need to learn to let go. Like if some months are quieter than the others. But I felt like it was I wouldn't be able to do it.
Oh my God, of course not.
It's
so consuming.
But I loved writing the packages and sending them out. So that is something.
I always say this when we're in the office. There's something like if we're going through a busy period or whatever, I'm always like, everyone tucks in and gets involved. And I'm like, I love this. I just love that. Shipping things off, putting the label on.
Where's your biggest sales? Like, is it Ireland? Is it abroad?
Ireland, yeah. We're actually hoping now the UK next year is going to be something that we look at. But Ireland keeps us very busy, thankfully. But we do ship to, like we've shipped to all over. Like we've shipped to Germany, we shipped to Dubai. Oh God, stop. And then the US, like we do get regular enough sales in the US, which is great. We have, we did a thing this year actually that we love. Like I'm very fortunate. Two of my best friends, one who I actually met through the Rose Tree was one of my bridesmaids, are influencers. And they were, and I swear to God, Sinead de Butler is my friend's name. And Sinead has been like our biggest advocate since 2017. So Sinead was the one who was like, Siobhéal, you need to get on the camera and you need to be chatting into the camera. You need to do this. You did the reporting. You loved the media. You can do it. Like she said, I still remember the car journey. I still remember she was driving.
Is she Irish?
Yeah, she's Irish. She only lives 5 minutes away from me.
I'll look her up now and I'll be like, oh no, she's this huge
fab. No, she's fab. She's fab. She's been doing it such a long time. She's amazing. But she used to do events, you know, like afternoon tea kind of fashion events. And I remember taking a stand when Rosie and Dott first started. And she was always like, Siobhéal, like, I got you. And anytime we have a launch, Sinead is always the first person that's like, we're so lucky that she would mention us. And
Does it help? Does that help?
It does help, but
she's doing it naturally,
she's doing
right?
it naturally. You see, that's, and that, one of the big things that I do manifest, I actually do this because I regularly tell myself this when things are hard, especially last year. I'll tell you about last year, but I often say to myself, I'm going to get Rosie and Dott so good that they're all going to come to me.
I say this, everybody wants to work with me.
I don't have to look to work with me. That's what even if now, I mean, I'm sounding like a person, like we go through months where
we
it's
sound
so
delusional,
quiet.
don't we?
Yeah. Like, come on. Like I could be last year when it was sample after sample was coming in and it was terrible. Like we just, oh my God, it was a really hard year.
So you're examples from different places.
Trying to find different manufacturers. Like my aim always with Rosie and Dott was that we get to the point where I was designing everything, where everything was uniquely ours and our own designs, our own, like, you know, just, you just get to know your customer really well. And I knew what Rosie and Dott gals like because we're all very similar. So it's generally things I'd like as well. But trying to find manufacturers that understand it, because obviously a huge portion of our sales are for our Rosie and Dott brides, we call them. So there has to be, the quality has to be really like stellar. Like I have to be able to ship things and know this is, like, I am 100% happy and content with this product. And I'm so excited for this bride to use on her wedding day or gift it to her mom on her wedding day, whatever it is.
Because it is true. Like your wedding is just that such special.
Yeah, it has to be perfect.
And also it's a good market because we're willing to pay for our weddings.
Absolutely.
We're willing to pay for the nice,
yeah.
the nice
and
thing.
thankfully, like, please God, weddings will always be a thing as well. So it's, you know, something that we'll always have, which is really important.
I don't think they're going anywhere.
Yeah, like, you know what I mean? Hope weddings aren't going to go anywhere. I'll have to rethink it otherwise. But like this is, like, in terms of influences, that's kind of what I always tell myself. I go, I want Rosie and Dott to get to a point where it's so good that they want to work with us. Do you know, that kind of way? But there are amazing people out there and I adore their content and I've met some of them and they're the most amazing people. Do you know, that kind of way? It just hasn't been something that we've done yet.
Do you do online ads or anything like that?
We only started doing Google ads about a year ago.
So it's really, is it really word of mouth with you?
Yeah, it's organic. Yeah, our growth, like in terms of our growth online, like social media has been all organic, which is great.
Which is your best platform?
Instagram, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
you have a good reach there.
Yeah, like it's, you know what? Like,
do you get asked, can I have free stuff? Get asked by people for free stuff?
It's very rarely happened actually.
Okay, interesting.
But it does happen. I've heard of it happening.
Oh, you've heard it?
Yeah, I've heard of that happening.
Like with people that actually probably have the money to buy it.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if we've been asked. Not often, actually.
Yeah.
Often,
We're not,
I'm thinking of, like,
say we're not a charity.
Yeah.
Do you get trolled online at all?
No, but I did. I remember we have a guy that we work with who's amazing, who's built our website for us and helps us with marketing and things. And I've been working with Carl since Prairie Door days. That's how I met him. And I had to Google something for him. And he was like, just Google Rosie and Dott, da, da, da. And I Googled Rosie and Dott, and so, which I never do. And something came up. It was like an online forum. And I would never read it because I've gone through too much to read. I would never put myself through that. But I read the first line. And the first line, this was 2023 as well. So lots of stuff was happening. I was trying to get the business from one place to the next. And that was so difficult, just trying to get our own designs over the line. And I felt like it was disappointment after disappointment. And then saw that and I went, oh my God. And it took me, I'd say, a few months to kind of get myself back to, like, you know, saw my counsellor, spoke about it, my counsellor. I was like, it was really triggering for me, obviously, because of what I had been through before. And I was like, I can't read this stuff. I can't, like, if I read this, I know what'll happen and I'll get scared and I'll want to stop. Like, I know that'll happen.
And you'll self-sabotage because of these random assholes that are behind a keyboard that are doing jack all.
I know. And it's so frustrating. I do get frustrated with myself. I wish I wasn't so soft about it. I wish I was the person who's like, oh, well, whatever.
Well, like, you're also human, you know, and you also have this past of being bullied. And I think I've never been bullied before, but I can only imagine that like that really stays with who you are and your being, that people are actually bullying you for who you are.
Yeah.
So you start to maybe you start to question like,
no, you do.
Am I
100%.
supposed to be?
And sometimes
like
you find yourself questioning whether what they say about you is actually real. And that's hard. That's probably for me the hardest part. God, is that true? You know, I remember thinking that at the time going, am I really that person? God. And then sometimes, you know, if I even think about the trolling and I go, God, if I start thinking that everyone thinks this about me, I'll just stop, you know, that kind of way. And I cannot let it happen.
And you have to look back at all the messages that you get that are so positive.
Absolutely.
Like, I loved my wedding day. I loved the bridesmaids loved their things.
And in fairness to the gals, like there's so many women like who follow Rosie and Dott who I feel like I know and I've never met them, but I would know their name on Instagram because we're always chatting. And I know like those women are fiercely protective of us, do you know, because I just know by them. I know by, you see things like, you know, just lovely recommendations they make, because there's loads of different wedding like Facebook groups and stuff, and they often are like, they're like brand ambassadors in themselves. And that was actually a reason we did a new thing this year where we were looking for brand ambassadors and we wanted brand ambassadors. But I was like, do you know what? Like we've so many amazing women. Now I'm talking women who've ordered from Rosie and Dott like 25 times. Yeah. Like insanity, like just so supportive. And I was like, we need to make our brand ambassadors like our followers. Yes. So we have like a group of, I don't know how many girls, like maybe 20 this year that we picked. And every time we had newness, we just sent it out to them. And we're doing like an afternoon tea. Is it next week? Yeah, where a few of us are getting together. Like, are available. And I follow this girl on LinkedIn, Pretty Little Marketer, Sophie Miller. She's unbelievable. I must follow her as well. Yeah, it's LinkedIn that I follow her. Yeah. And she talked about like, it's gone with the influencer. Yeah. Like that is just gone and it's in with the community. So having these community events, like I see it myself as well. People like repeat customers. You know, I our last manifestation challenge, I had a Zoom call for people to see like, okay, if you want to join, this is what it's about. Like. There were people that had been on the one previously. They were selling the course. Like they were like, but you could bring your box. Someone was like, I'm going to South Africa. I'm going to Portugal. Like, you could bring your box with you. Like they were selling it for me. For you. Yeah. And they were like, I'm doing it again. It's a second time. It's the ultimate compliment. I feel like that's the ultimate compliment. Yeah. If someone's like, oh no, but did you hear about Rosie and Dott? Like, you should go check that out. Or I just think that for me is like, it does not get better. Like you're doing your job right. Yeah. If that's the case. And I think your friend as well, this is the last one, but I think your friend as well, talking about getting yourself in front of the camera. Yeah. Because people buy from people, they love the personality, they like to know your stories, and plus, you've got great social media, you know, like your stories and different things. So it's great. Yeah, I love sharing. I find our best engagement actually is, you know, if I do like just an update on us, because I work. So my other sister Neve, who would have worked with me in Ferrydor looking after accounts, she's now full time with us in Rosie and Dott, and Mum and Dad are still full time in Rosie and Dott. Yeah. So it's the four of us. Like that's what Rosie and Dott. And like I love sharing like that update, like about loan. It's actually Mum and Dad that pack your orders. Like it's not like, you know, like I love that, and they're adorable. The two of them are gas. Like we kill each other obviously, but like we love each other as well. I'm always like, it's not Brady Bunch, guys. Do you know what I mean? But but that's like life and that's great. Business. And of course. And they're the ones who are so honest at all times with me, and I need that. But like people really resonate and are very like emotionally like invested. Yeah. Which is amazing. Okay, folks, listen, if you're complaining you don't have the money to start a business, like this was started with €1,000, some samples, Facebook, and all grown organically. Yeah. Like literally. You can do it. Yeah. You should be so you can so do it. Yeah. I always say that to people. I'm like, you just have to, the hardest part for me definitely was like just believing that it's possible. And everything else you figure out. And there's loads of hurdles and there's loads of hard things. And there's some days you'd pull your hair out and you will sit at your desk and cry. Like I've done that. I've left the office early. I've been like, I'm leaving at 2. I'm getting my oat cappuccino. Yeah, I'm going to get an oat cappuccino and a protein ball and call it a day. Like that's literally, I've had countless days like that. But again, my sister Aoife gave me great advice where she was like, if you're having a day like that, though, leave. She's like, because you can. She's like, there's not many things you can do as a business owner that are like the easy way out or anything like that. So, but one of the pros is like, if you're having time, just go home. Just go home and start again. And have a cry. It's good. Have a cry. It's so therapeutic to cry. Absolutely. It's good to cry. Yeah. I need to remember that. Yeah. Yeah. And listen to Miley Cyrus. I can buy myself flowers. Yeah. And my favorite song is the last one.
for right now, so basically in our last challenge, we created a Spotify list.
Oh,
It's called
amazing.
Manifesty Bestie, because that's what
I
my husband is.
j'adore.
Yeah.
J'adore.
So it's the song that I've really taken to is Ellie Goulding, Anything Could Happen. So I want you to blare that on the way home.
I'm going to do that on the way home.
Anything could happen. It's like the best, most high vibes song. So anytime I'm having a little bit of a down day, I just blare the music and I'm like, no,
Love that.
anything could happen. I don't even know what I want to happen,
No,
but I just want to feel joy.
Yeah,
like
I
most
just
of the
want to
time.
be joyful. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's all I want
And
as
business
well.
to be successful, but like joy and success.
Just to be getting up out of bed and like okay for the day ahead.
Yeah.
That's all you want.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
I'll have your whole family in next.
Oh my God, please imagine you won't get a word in. You'd be like, oh my God, we're going to need 4 hours for this. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you so much.
Of course.
I
Thank
am
you.
like, I'll be rooting for you from the sidelines, you know,
God, thank
Rosie and
you.
Dott. So let's go.
Let's bring it
Manifesting
on.
big things.
Thank you.
Thank you.